Mansfield might be best known as Hollywood's attempt at a Marilyn Monroe replacement, who also met a tragic end. But there's a lot more to her story. Here are some things you might not have known about the star. Jayne might have played a dumb blonde on screen, but in real life, she was quite smart. She did well in school, played the violin and piano, and spoke 5 languages. She wasn't actually a blonde either. In an attempt to give her a more Marilyn Monroe vibe, who the studio was trying to replace when Jayne was getting her start in Hollywood, Jayne was made to dye her brown hair platinum blonde. If Jayne looks familiar to you even though you haven't seen any of her work, it might be because she reminds you of her daughter, Mariska Hargitay of Law & Order fame. Jayne's signature color was pink. She had a pink Cadillac and even painted her entire house pink.
This Marilyn Monroe copycat took things literally. In the 1950s, Jayne Mansfield rose to fame as a more provocative version of Marilyn Monroe. Monroe felt so insulted by the imitation that she even expressed desire to sue Mansfield. However, when news of Monroe's sudden death reached Mansfield in 1962, she remarked, "Maybe I'll be next." 5 years later, Jayne Mansfield died in a car accident. While on a long drive, Mansfield sat up front with her driver and boyfriend, whilst her 3 kids occupied the back. At around 2 a.m., they crashed into the back of a trailer truck, sliding under the back of it, and shearing off the top of the car. Police arrived to thankfully find the 3 children still alive in the back seat, but the 3 adults in the front were instantly killed. Although rumors circulated that Mansfield's head was decapitated, her death certificate confirmed a partial separation of her cranium, an injury more akin to scalping than total decapitation.
Have you ever wondered what this reflective bar at the bottom of a truck is? It's called the Mansfield bar, and its origin is pretty gruesome. The Mansfield bar is named for actress Jayne Mansfield. On June 28, 1967, before that bar was required on the back of large trucks, Mansfield, her 3 children, her lawyer, and her driver were taking a road trip from Mississippi to New Orleans. While making their way through 2 a.m. fog, the driver failed to see a semi-truck going considerably slower than expected. The driver had no time to react, and their car slammed into the back of the semi and under the trailer. Only the 3 children survived. The car was tragically able to slide under the truck because semis don't have bumpers. Interestingly, the underride guards had actually existed as early as 1953. But after the tragic accident, it was mandated that all trucks have bars to protect against future devastating crashes like this one. There is debate on the effectiveness of the Mansfield bar. The resounding conclusion is yes, they reduce the risk of underride deaths successfully. However, they lose their effectiveness if the colliding car doesn't hit the truck head on. And these bars can still cause major injuries upon impact. Also, particularly low cars can still slide under regulation Mansfield bars. So even though this safety addition could have saved Jayne Mansfield's life, the auto industry's best advice to avoid another tragedy: don't get too close to a semi-truck.
Her death influenced something you've probably seen before. Jayne Mansfield was a Hollywood star and sex icon in the 1950s and early 60s. You probably know her daughter, who was actually in the back seat of the car with her mother when it crashed into a semi-truck in 1967, and the car slid underneath the back of the truck, killing Mansfield instantly. This is what the car looked like afterwards, and because of the accident, the federal law was changed to require semis to have a guard bar so that cars can't slide underneath them, and it's known as the Mansfield bar.
Did you know the guards we see on the back of semi-trailers are called Mansfield bars? It was made mandatory for all semi-trucks to be fitted with them after the gruesome death of actress Jayne Mansfield, when the top of her car was sheared off after rear-ending and sliding underneath a semi.
That occurs from the leader of the Satanic Church may have been what caused the untimely death of Jayne Mansfield.
Passed at just 34 years of age in a tragic accident. After Jayne had been a sensation on Broadway, her star rose to fame even to rival that of Marilyn Monroe. The studios would purposely pit the 2 blondes against each other. 20th Century Fox would sign Mansfield at double the salary that they signed Marilyn. However, the media would call Mansfield the poor man's Marilyn Monroe, after she had been featured countless times in Playboy's magazines. And these later photos would be the cause of the arrest of Hugh Hefner. He was even put on trial for these
photos, but a jury had him acquitted. However, Jayne was no stranger to making a splash. She loved being in the limelight, and many believe that she paved the way for the modern-day reality TV star. Journalists at the time said that she suffered so many wardrobe malfunctions that nudity was just a hazard of her career. Jayne had them a lot. She had dresses that would fall to her waist. She had spaghetti straps that would just suddenly fall off while photographers were right there. Popped herself right down next to Sophia Loren in front of all of Hollywood, and Sophia Loren was afraid that her bust was going to come onto her plate. All of these malfunctions made her quite the controversial star, but also made her have a persona. The blonde bimbo, but she was anything but. Jayne had an IQ of 183 and she spoke 5 languages. What she really wanted to be was a mother, and she was one eventually to 5 children, but this also set her career back after what they called quote-unquote repeated pregnancies. Yes, you do know her as Mariska Hargitay's mom. And it was during her divorce from Mariska's dad that things seemed to go downhill for Jayne. Mariska's father was just like her mother. He was a bodybuilder, super into his looks, and he loved being the center of attention. They fit each other really well, but when they divorced, it was really bad. And later on TV, Jayne would apologize to him for everything that she put him through. She even at one point accused him of kidnapping their children, which didn't happen. And shortly after they announced their divorce, Jayne discovered that she was pregnant. So in order to not endanger her career by being an unwed mother, they held off on the divorce until after Mariska was born. After their divorce was finalized in August of 1964, Jayne was remarried the very next month. This was a bad marriage. So she acquired a new lawyer named Sam Brody, and he took over everything for her. Since she had been a teen, she had been running all of her finances, all of her business deals, and she handed it all over to him. Shortly thereafter, Jayne began living with her lawyer, Sam Brody, and he ended up leaving his wife for her. This was a very toxic and controlling and, dare I say, abusive relationship. Then in walked Church of Satan founder Anton LaVey, and we will get into that in the next part.
Autopsies, Part 113, Jayne Mansfield. Jayne Mansfield was a starlet, trailblazer, and nightclub performer. She was most well known for playing sultry roles and taking part in publicity stunts, but was also highly intelligent with an exceptionally gifted IQ. When she died at the youthful age of 34 in a high-speed collision, it sparked grisly and even paranormal rumors. On the evening of June 29, 1967, Jayne was heading down Route 90 east of New Orleans when a series of unfortunate events unfolded. Inside of the Buick Electra was driver Ronald Harrison, Jayne, her lawyer, and 3 children. It was already a winding, dark stretch of the road, and Harrison was allegedly speeding near 80 miles per hour. Up ahead was a city vehicle emitting thick, hazy plumes of chemicals meant to kill mosquitoes. This likely obstructed their view, causing them to smash full speed into the trailer of a truck. The Electra underrode the trailer, which peeled off the roof like the top of a sardine can. Jayne's wig flew from her head into the shattered windshield, causing the media to report that she had been decapitated. Along with this, many have claimed that her death was a result of a curse. Jayne's 3 children survived, but all adults were pronounced dead at the scene. According to her external examination, her head was still attached, but in bad shape. Her face and entire upper body caught a lot of glass and was covered in lacerations of various depths. The entire top of her skull was badly fractured, a part of the frontal bone was missing, and it was largely crushed. In addition to this, she suffered both a brain and scalp avulsion. This means that her scalp was no longer fully attached and a portion of tissue was torn from the brain. This was the fatal injury.